everybody. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. So, what's in store for you here tonight? Folks, we are headed back to the movies. I got a chance to check out a movie that has now quickly become Apple TV's most viewed movie of all times. Already breaking some records here, so I'm pretty excited to talk to y'all about this one here tonight. Folks, tonight we are talking The Gorge. But let's not waste any time and jump right on into things. If you haven't seen the trailer for The Gorge before, this tells the story of two completely unrelated, unknowing snipers who are hired to a mission to protect anything that might come out of the titular Gorge. But when they find out that the stories that have been passed down about what lies beneath the surface are actually true, will they be able to escape this mission alive? And there it is, folks. That is The Gorge. Now, with this film, this has been kind of one of Apple TV's more high-profile films that have been coming out. But I think a lot of people, when they think of the Apple TV streaming service, don't think that it has the same eyes on it like other services like a Netflix or a Hulu. It seems like those other platforms do a much better job about championing the TV shows and movies that they're producing and making sure they get eyes on them. Like, I've seen more trailers for this than I think any of their other projects combined over the last 5 years here with The Gorge. So clearly the marketing team is trying something big, and it's a pretty high profile project too. If you look at the director, Scott Derrickson, one of our best directors we have out there today. You might know him from some films like Deliver Us from Evil, or perhaps Doctor Strange, or one of our best horror films that we've received in the last 20 years now, Sinister. And I love The Black Phone, which we're getting the Black Phone 2 later on this year. Super exciting. But Scott Derrickson is behind the camera lens again here for The Gorge, and starring in this one is Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. Again, a lot of names involved in this one that's going to get more looks on it. And the simple fact that this film is an action sci-fi horror thriller, you're putting in enough of those exciting genres that were at the time where folks are like looking for something exciting to watch, and this finds itself right in the perfect categories there for it. Now, Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy do phenomenal jobs here as our leads, Levi and Drasa. And I know I'm butchering her name there, and I apologize there for it. But getting to see a little bit of what their lives are like before they end up picking up this mission, and kind of seeing what leads them to commit to a mission like this, because the mission involves them going and protecting this gorge for 1 full year without any contact from the outside world, and they can't even communicate with each other. So it's isolation for a complete year. And we get to see a little bit of their lives prior to them getting hired for this job, and then get to see how their lives slowly start to change as they take the job on. And we see that Levi is very much, very solitary, very much by the rules, very much just committed to the task that's at hand. And we get the impression that he's clearly still dealing with maybe some PTSD and some other mental issues that came from his time in the actual service itself. And so he's been working over the years doing jobs for contracting companies, as well as still for the American military as well too. Whereas Drasa is very different. We can see that she takes joy in interacting with other people, as we get to see her interactions, like with her father, and get to see a little bit more about the fact that she is obviously more social, and obviously has more, not necessarily that she's living for, but there's more that's motivating her in her day-to-day life than what we can see with Levi. And I think it's obvious, it's very obvious when we're seeing the introductions to these two characters that Drasa is very much going to pull Levi out of that shell that he's in, because we're not going to get a lot of backstory on these two and about what led them to be in the positions that they are here today. There's a lot of speculation throughout the film we can have, and I think that's some of the best parts of Zach Dean's script, is that we don't need to know the distinct past that these two have had, because that's not really what's important in this particular case. Again, their lives are immediately changed when they take these jobs on, protecting whatever's coming out of the gorge, and it forces them to change their outlook at themselves, at each other, at life just in general, when they start to see what they're up against. And that really moves into one of the most strongest aspects here of this story, is that it is a really fun and a really enjoyable like love story here, will they won't they, while we're leading up to all the action and stuff that's going down. We spent a good chunk of this movie, because it's a long movie at that as well too, y'all. This movie's over 2 hours long, and they spend a chunk of that with Levi and Drossa separated. And you would think that that might harm the film when you have two great leading actors in Taylor Joy in this film. You would think that that might take away from it, but honestly, it's some of the strongest moments of the script, of these two connecting, of Drossa, realizing that they're going to be here for a year. Why wouldn't you talk to somebody if you have the means and the ability to do it? And seeing them just communicate back and forth, like through their message boards, and have these hangout sessions, and whether they're eating, they're drinking, they're playing games, whatever, like it works just as well as any other romantic, any other love story, romantic comedy, whatever. I felt it was just as strong. This script is really good to where those elements of them being apart end up being so likable that it's weird to say that you kind of wish they had a little bit more time away from each other in the film. And they spend a long time not together in the least bit, but it does also build that anticipation, though, for when they do actually end up getting together, because they have such a great connection that you just can't help but be excited to see when the time comes that they're actually going to be able to interact. And when they do, the story doesn't suffer for it, at least between the two of them. A lot of times I think that there could be a worry that when we finally get to that build up and we finally deliver on that, can it be as strong as we're ultimately hoping that it will be? And in this case, they do manage to keep that same intensity. They keep the same fun with it. The interaction between these two is great. And you can really see the ways that Drossa is able to bring comfort to Levi from the uncomfortable situations we get to see him in earlier on in this film, and the fact that Levi is able to do the same thing, able to comfort Drossa, even though she is the more carefree and open one. They very much do complement each other, and it is for sure one of the best aspects of this film. Now, I'd obviously be amiss if I didn't talk about the gorge itself, which is going to be a large reason while a chunk of you are going to be checking this film out. During one of Levi and Drossa's hangouts, this is when we're truly given the full picture of what's happening below, and that these creatures are rising, trying to get out of this. Now, unfortunately, this ends up actually being kind of the weaker part of the film. The action is really, really good and exciting, and it definitely had me clenching my fist a few times when these attacks started to break out. But I think the problem ultimately is that when they introduce the mythology behind what's actually happened down in the gorge, where these creatures have come from, it did take a little bit away from enjoying that mystique, enjoying the intrigue that we had, trying to figure out what the story ultimately is. Is it aliens? Is it the military that's been doing this? Is it, creatures that have lived under the earth? Is it another dimension? Whatever the case is here, I think that a lot of times doing a lot more showing and not telling can be beneficial here for you. And it does really feel that the gorge actually lost a bit of that steam once we get the explanation for everything that's going on. Just don't feel it's as strong as everything that the film had presented up until that point. These hollow men that Levi and Drossa have to protect us from there, the design on them, I very much kept thinking of a mix between Pirates of the Caribbean and Skull Island. was kind of like the mix of all these different creatures and the Hollow Man that we get to see throughout the film. Like there's some great design in it for sure. But again, the mythology sets up that there's a little bit more going on. And the problem is that we don't get to see that little bit more that would really have brought everything full circle. It's like there's an ambitious idea behind the creatures and everything that exists down there in the gorge, but the real problem is that they don't fully expose us to it. And I'm saying that knowing, a little minor spoilers here, our leads do end up down in that gorge as well too, and yet somehow it just still doesn't take the full advantage of showing what they've kind of telegraphed throughout the film. I very much there, without going too deep into it, because the film just came out, not trying to break my big spoiler rule here, but the easiest way I can put it without diving too deep is that they set up a hierarchy, a class system, there's absolutely a class system there between these creatures, and there's a hierarchy there for sure, but we don't really get to see that at all. And I hated the fact that that was alluded to. It was kind of set up, and then that part just ultimately wasn't paid off. It took away a lot from enjoying the reveal and enjoying the explanation for everything that was going on, because ultimately that could have made it far more interesting. And instead, it kind of left it feeling a little bit run of the mill. And that's why the film doesn't end up being perfect for me. There's a lot of good really in here, but they just don't land the setup. They don't land the payoff to what's causing all of this in the first place. And it really lets the rest of this really strong film down, unfortunately. Either way, great performances from the leads, great directing from Derrickson here for sure. Zach Dean's script is strong. Again, the romantic aspects of this and the setup ultimately until we actually find out verbatim what's happening is phenomenal. But unfortunately, the rest of the film just doesn't serve the great the setups that we had in the beginning of it. I'm curious of what y'all thought here, though. Please let me know in the comment section. And with The Gorge being Apple TV's most viewed film on their streaming service, what else have y'all been watching on there? You know, I've watched the MonsterVerse show. I've watched Severance here. But I'm curious, what else are y'all checking out? Let me know that in that comment section. And of course, hit that subscribe button. I got more great reviews coming your way. The best way to get subscribed is to get linked to my link tree at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio-only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for full episodes as well as movie news and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button. Again, I got more great reviews coming your way. We're going to finish out the first season of Dexter Original Sin, the second season of Mayfair Witches. We got Hard Eyes coming. We got The Monkey coming. We got so much good stuff coming your way. Don't want y'all to miss any of that at all. But that's it tonight, y'all. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.